This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, visit squarespace.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Are you struggling to get the settings right in your camera and finding that your photos end up too bright or too dark or blurry and you just don't know where to start with changing your settings? Sports, landscapes, portraits, street photography. In this video, I'll explain a method that you can use to get the right exposure and settings for all these genres, even if you don't know where to start. If you stay till the end, I'll show you how to do this in full manual, even if you've never shot manual before. My name is Simon, and I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. So before we get into these techniques, a quick primer on the three settings that affect the brightness of your photos: shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. The trick with all these settings is that they involve trade-offs. More of one thing comes at the expense of another. That's why they're called the exposure triangle. Shutter speed is the length of time your shutter is open. Long shutter speeds are also called slow shutter speeds. Long shutter speeds make your images brighter by allowing more time for light to enter your sensor. Fast shutter speeds are also called high shutter speeds and might be 1/1000th or 1/2000th of a second to freeze fast action or wildlife. Faster shutter speeds make your image darker by allowing less time for light to enter onto your sensor. In short, you need fast shutter speeds to freeze action, and if too slow, your subject moves while the shutter is open, causing blur in your photo. So shutter speed controls the creative decision of motion blur versus freezing movement. Aperture is the size of the opening in your lens to allow light to enter onto your sensor. The larger the opening, the more light, which improves image quality. But the wider the aperture, the thinner the areas in focus, called the depth of field. You may want this thin depth of field for artistic effect, to have a smooth background, for example, that's out of focus. But you might have wanted to get several people standing at different distances in focus at once, in which case a thin depth of field isn't desirable. For that, you want a smaller aperture, which gives you a deep depth of field, so aperture controls the creative decision of depth of field. And third is your ISO, which is a brightness control inside your camera. Some people call it sensitivity, but that was film. In digital, it's just boosted brightness electronically. If your ISO is very low, it means your photo had lots of light come in from the open aperture or the open shutter, leading to better image quality. You use this low ISO like 100 or 200 or 400 when light is generous, and it gives you better image quality. But a high ISO will usually accompany poor image quality, as your photo needed to be brightened a lot. Either the shutter speed or aperture were poorly set for the light available, or it was really dark for photos. So ISO 1600, 3200, 6400 might be needed, but might leave your images noisy. Here's where ISO is different from aperture and shutter speed. While those two affected creative decisions about your photo, and I say this regularly in my videos, ISO does not affect the creative and artistic aspects of your photo, just image quality. So shutter speed and aperture are more critical to your creative photography than ISO. Another critical thing to remember is that these three settings all change the brightness of your photo. If you set one of them to make your photo darker, you'll need to set another one brighter to compensate to keep the same brightness level. So here's what I recommend for a procedure when taking a photo to get your settings right to match the vision that you have for your photo. First, you need to decide on the two creative values that matter the most for getting a photo: shutter speed to control freezing action, and aperture to control depth of field. Pick those first based on the genre you shoot, then the other settings in decreasing priority needed to get the exposure the right brightness. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. If you haven't heard of them, they're an all-in-one website platform that helps you create your website from scratch, just like I did. You don't need any coding experience or even to be tech savvy. They have lots of templates to choose from to make it easy to get your own website up and running in no time. But even though they have great templates like the ones for photography that I might use, for example, the place to go now is their new design intelligence feature, using both Squarespace's experience and cutting-edge AI, helping you tailor your own website to your own specific needs. It looks really professional to have online galleries in your own domain, and a website is also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store using Squarespace payments, which you can set up with just a few clicks. You can even do buy now and pay later with options like Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So we've seen that we should select settings in order of priority for our style or genre. Let's put this into practice. For example, a wildlife or sports photographer, your shutter speed to freeze action is what matters most, and you need it high to freeze the action. You pick that first, let's say 1/1000th of a second. Then you can pick the aperture needed. A very large aperture for a thin depth of field for separating your subject from the background is common and will gather more light for better image quality. Then set your ISO to get the right brightness. If there's not enough light and your ISO is too high, like 12,800, then you need to reduce your shutter speed until the ISO goes down to an acceptable level. Remember, every choice in these three settings comes at the expense of the other two. Let's say you're a landscape photographer. For many landscape shots, a deep depth of field to get everything in focus is the top priority, much more important than shutter speed. You set that first. F9 for deep depth of field. Then you set your ISO as image quality is next in importance. ISO 100 if you're on a tripod. And last in importance in this scenario is freezing movement, which is controlled by shutter speed. If you're on a tripod, you can set it very slow, maybe 1/2 second to match that ISO 100 for a properly exposed photo. If you want to blur a waterfall, use an even slower shutter speed. Let's say you shoot portraits. Your top priority may be a thin depth of field to get an ethereal look to your model. If this depth of field is the top priority, then the aperture is the most important and should be set first. Set that to wide open aperture, maybe f2.8 on your lens. Then enough shutter speed to freeze the movement of your model and your camera shake perhaps. Let's say 1/250th of a second, depending on the light. Then ISO needed to get the right exposure. Maybe 100 on a bright day and 1000 to 2000 if it's indoors. If your ISO comes out too high or too low, adjust the shutter speed to get it where you want it. So now we have our order of things figured out. But you may be saying, but I don't even know where to start with my initial settings, which usually leave me with a bright white or pitch black screen. Easy. Here's my technique. Put your camera in automatic. Automatic isn't great for making artistic choices, but it does know how to set a starting place for your shot. Set your camera to automatic, take a photo, and make a note of the settings. This creates your starting point. Then go to your favorite mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, or manual. You can even set auto ISO and only worry about two settings. And then follow the guide I showed you earlier and tweak your settings to what you need to deliver on your creative vision for your photo, using the auto setting as a starting point. Let's try this for real. I have two owl models and I'll pretend that they're two people that I want to photograph at the same time, both in focus. The problem is one is behind the other. I'll need a deep depth of field to get them both in focus. I turn on my camera and get a dark mess. What do? I start by going to automatic. It says I can do 1/80th of a second, f2.8, ISO 160. Now the problem is if I take a photo with the auto settings, it will get the exposure right, but it doesn't know what I want out of this photo, which is to get both owls in focus at the same time. I'll get one owl in focus, but the other isn't sharp as my depth of field is too thin at f2.8. So I'm going to switch to manual, where again it's a dark mess, and then I put it in my auto settings, 1/80th of a second, f2.8, ISO 160. From earlier, I now know that to get a deeper depth of field, to get the second owl sharp 2, I need to make my aperture smaller. Let's go to f9, making the depth of field deeper, meaning the area just before and after the owl I'm focusing on are still in focus. But see how making the aperture smaller made the image darker. I took light away by making a small aperture. We now know that when we take brightness out of the photo, we need to add it back using one of the other two settings. I don't want my shutter speed to be less than the 1/80th of a second I have, as I want to make sure I have enough to take control of the camera movement by pressing the shutter. So I'll increase my ISO. When I increase it to ISO 1600, the photo is properly exposed. And click, I take a shot and see that both owls are in focus at the same time. Voila. And finally, you may be saying, what if I'm shooting in a semi-automatic mode like AV, TV, or auto ISO, and there are bright white spots of overexposure or black spots of underexposure? What do I do then? That's where you use exposure compensation to make tweaks to your settings to dial them in. Now, if you want to avoid exposure compensation, then you need to shoot in full manual. But you may be saying again, oh, that's too hard to know what the right exposure is. I have a trick for you. First, same as earlier, go to automatic and remember the settings for that and apply them in manual. That's a good starting point. Then to dial in your exposure, do the following. Set your metering mode to spot metering. Remember, getting the exposure right is getting the light meter to medium gray, right here. Now aim your spot at part of the scene that's the same brightness as medium gray, like the wall right here in this scene. While pointing at it, adjust your shutter speed, aperture, or ISO to get the light meter to 0. That's where medium gray is. Then go back to photograph your subject. And voila, a perfect exposure for your subject in manual. If you want to learn more about the exposure compensation I mentioned earlier, I have a whole video on it, which you can see right here. If you found this video deserving, give it a like so YouTube will show it to even more photographers looking to get their exposure just right, and I hope that you can go out soon and use this information to get your own creative and wonderful photos. I know you can do it.